Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. And I'm just looking out for Neil. He's around here somewhere. There he is at the back there. And in case you can't see, it is raining. Yes, rain was forecast, but no, we didn't bring an umbrella. Take an umbrella, Tara said. No, I'll be right. She'll be right. Well, it's not really heavy, but it's still raining. So we'll get on with it. Shorter walk today. But first thing I wanted to cover today, I forgot to mention it yesterday. A couple of nights ago, I tuned into Netflix. I was looking for something to watch, and I came across the documentary called Fight to Live. And it is about Australia's own female warrior, Rowdy Bec Rawlings. I think it's Rodriguez now, but Rowdy Bec Rawlings, and wow, what a documentary. It was really, really good. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. It's just on Netflix. I had seen on her social media that it was coming, and I think she put up there that she'd been to a premiere or something about it, and yeah, really confronting. First of all, the domestic violence sort of stuff was pretty confronting as well, but that was probably I was going to say it was the good news story that she got out of that, but obviously it was a shocking story at the start, what she was subjected to. But yeah, I've always liked her as a fighter, just a warrior, just comes to fight, and just to see where she started from. She actually got knocked like out cold in her first ever fight. And they actually have a highlight of that on there. She got kicked in the head by some other lady or woman, and wow, just out cold. But she picked herself up, regrouped, got into, I think it was just normal MMA. Then she got into the UFC at some stage, and I think she did really well at that. Then she's done a bit of boxing as well, but she's really found a niche in bare knuckle boxing, and holy shit, that sport, wow. Now, I've had a lot of experience in the ring against a lot of guys, and you would never see me get in the bare knuckle boxing ring. That is just next level stuff, and she got in there and the way they punch on. But yeah, I've got a newfound respect for her after that. As I said, I've always admired her as far as just her warrior mentality goes, but to see what she's been through in her life, and then also in her career, just always comes to fight. The boxing stuff didn't really work out that well for her, and that's not a bad thing. Some people are just more suited to other things, and we've seen it, kickboxers going into boxing or boxers going into something else. But yeah, boxing didn't really seem like her thing, but the bare knuckle boxing is right up her alley, and yeah, it was just a really good watch. Story about her relationship with her partner, or now her husband, Adrian Rodriguez, and her kids, and as I said before, the domestic violence stuff. But so check it out. It goes for about an hour and a half. Really good watch, and yeah, it was well worth it. Actually, just on a non-boxing thing for a second, I actually watched another documentary last night that I came across that I think you should check out if you're around my vintage. It was about the America's Cup back in 1983. And I was only, 9, 10 years old. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Australia 2, the winged keel, John Bertrand, Ben Lexon, Alan Bond, the whole crew, the whole of Australia behind Australia 2 winning the America's Cup. And it was fascinating to see the behind the scenes vision of what happened in the story, and all the lengths the Americans went to upend the Australian by sending frogmen to look at the wing keel, to trying to get them disqualified because they're trying to say that someone else designed it, because with the boats, it's got to be 100% designed, manufactured and built in the home country. And they tried to allege, because Ben Lexon had gone to Holland for a bit of schooling over there, they tried to, or a bit of information, and just to further himself in his field, they tried to say that it was actually the Dutch that invented the wing keel, which would have disqualified the Aussie. This is after Will kicking their ass, by the way. and then what else was it? There was something else. Oh, then before it was 3-3 going into the last race, and they actually did it. They actually made major changes to the boat, which in the past had been 100% a no-no, but this is the America's Cup, not the rest of the world's cup, and they were allowed to do it. They shaved bits and pieces off the boat and redesigned a few things on the eve of the last race. And it still didn't come up with the goods, did the Americans. And it was fascinating too. I never really knew this at the time again, because I've never really revisited it since 1983. I'm just looking for Neil here. Where is he? He's around here somewhere. He's probably going around the back. But to lose the first 2 races by different things that had happened to the boat, and then to finally come back and win, there he is, and then to come back and win the America's Cup in the last race after being a minute behind. And in racing terms, come here buddy, that is a lot. So the fact that they were a minute behind and came back, it was a little bit of work by John Bertrand to pick, not going that way bud, we're going to go this way, for John Bertrand to pick the right time to put up a certain sail, and the Americans got it wrong. They were so far in front and they went right, and the Australians went left, and that was what decided the race. So look, I thought it was just another fascinating documentary. They have some really good stuff on Netflix, so again, check that out if you're around my vintage and can remember the America's Cup. So on to today's topic, and this is probably the most important video I suppose I've done. Now, I'm not going to actually delve into it too much, the actual Olympic side of things, because I've actually done a standalone. There's a little duck down there in the pond. There you go, a couple of ducks as we walk over the bridge. But I've actually done a standalone video about this. It was while the Olympics are on, so go back and watch that. It was a whole video, it goes for about 25 minutes, about the Olympic experience. So what I'm going to probably talk about more in this video is about how I qualified, the lead up, the fallout, and sort of what happened after that. So again, if you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. But I said in the last video that, there it is. So I said in the last video that at the end of 95, I was disillusioned. I'd lost that state title. I'd won the fight and the fight had been overturned. And I was really disillusioned about which way I was going to go. And I had a conversation with my team, and they said, look, you know, you're not 71 kilos, you're a 67 kilo fighter. So that's really the best way to go. So I did it. I didn't think I could do it, but with the help of everyone concerned, I spent the whole summer every day training, as far as doing lots of cardio stuff, really strict diet, well, I was going to say a heavy weights program, but not as far as weight goes, more just smaller weights, high repetitions, really cutting up, getting strong, really explosive sort of stuff. And then, lots of running, all that sort of stuff. So more of that rather than just boxing, because it wasn't really about improving the boxing skills. It was just getting in really good condition, and obviously the weight factor as well. So the decision was made, and so I entered into the Olympic trials. Now the problem is that they had to get the Olympic trials going really quickly, and there was no tournaments sort of scheduled until sort of February, March or whatever, and that's when the Oceania Games were. So they had to get things organised, because you had to go through your state first. So I entered for Victoria, and I had an opponent from Victoria enter by the name of Pierre Caram. Now a lot of you out there will know Pierre. Great guy, and just quickly on that, condolences to Pierre, who lost his mum this week, I think it was, or last week. So condolences to Pierre, sending all our best wishes. But I'd sparred with Pierre a lot in the gym down at Mick Canavan's gym in Ringwood, and I think he was 18 or 19 or something like that. I would have been 21 or 22, whatever it might have been. And we were drawn to fight each other. But as I said, the problem was there was no tournament scheduled. So they had to schedule an impromptu tournament. Now, where do you think an impromptu tournament's going to be when it's when there's literally one fight on the bill. Actually, there was supposed to be two. My brother was supposed to fight Sean Connell, who was the one that I'd fought in the States, and for some reason that fight didn't happen. I think Sean might have withdrawn, I can't remember. So there was literally one fight on the bill, and it was myself and Pierre Caram. And you can't really rent out a hall or whatever and expect a crowd to come for one fight. So I don't know where you are going there, Neil, but I'm going to follow you. It's one of those days. So what they actually did was schedule it for the Brizzy Brothers Gym on a Sunday morning. Of course, the Brizzies was and still do run Boxing Victoria, and they were especially so back then. So they scheduled the fight at the gym on a Sunday morning. Just so happened, by the way, that pretty sure the Brizzies actually trained Pierre as well. So I was actually at his gym, but not that was a big deal. So it was a Sunday morning, one fight on the bill, myself versus Pierre Caram, and I was ready to go. I must have been going into the fight. I don't think I'd ever been fitter, stronger, harder, and mentally ready to go. I was really, really on a mission. And I knew, having sparred Pierre, obviously a lot younger than me, sort of coming up in weight, I was a real solid 67 kilo who had made the weight actually quite well in the end. I did it really good. So I was ready to go, and I was ready to really make a statement. I really felt comfortable at 67 kilos. And so I thought we rolled up at the gym, weighed in, all that sort of stuff. And I was thinking Sunday morning, there's not going to really be anyone there. Geez, it's a Sunday morning, one fight. But I reckon there was 100, 150 people crammed into this gym. It was packed in there for myself versus Pierre, and we had a great fight over 3 rounds. I got the decision, and it was just it was a bizarre moment. It really was. And it's actually on YouTube, this fight, so if you haven't seen it, you can check it out on YouTube. Myself and Pierre locking horns at the Brizzy Brothers Gym on a Sunday morning. So I got past that one, felt really good, really strong in that fight, and moved on to the second fight, which was only, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later, which was at a proper show. They actually did a proper Olympic qualifying event at the Reggio Calabria Club in Melbourne, which I'd fought at many, many times. And this time I came up against an old foe, Shane White, who I'd fought in 1992 at the Nationals when I beat him up in Darwin. And he'd come down. I knew when I rolled up to the fight that there were some good signs. I knew, by the way, I think I knew I'd just come a long way since 1992. I was a really solid 22-year-old now. Really growing into my body. I was really solid at the weight, and when we rolled up to the fights, he was, as we drove into the venue, he was running out of the venue or out of the car park in full sweatsuit and everything else. So I knew that, yeah, all right, that's a tick for me, because I didn't have to lose. I'd already done the work. I was on weight again, did it really, really well, and fought Shane White. And this time it was pretty one-sided. I stopped him in the first round, and I just felt so strong. I just felt like I was just overpowering these guys, and where it was a tough even fight back in 92, this time it was just a wipeout. And I think that fight might be on YouTube as well. You can see that. So again, I felt really, really primed for for a tilt at the game. So I qualified for the Oceania Games after that, and I think I might have been the B side, because I think Dave Birchall, again, a good mate of mine, not so much back then, respectable, but obviously not friends in the same division. We're aiming for the same thing, and we were the A and B side at the Oceania Games, and we went to Rooty Hill in Sydney, and we didn't fight each other, obviously opposite sides of the draw. I think I won my first, I only had 3 fights, but I won my first 2 fights pretty comfortably, made the final. Dave was supposed to fight Alex Tour, who's David Tour's brother, in the semi-finals, and he actually got crook, so he had to pull out. So Alex Tour got a walkover, and I fought Alex Tour in the final. And it was great. It was on Fox Sports back then. It was, I remember Troy Waters was commentating, late great Troy Waters was commentating, and it was just a real buzz. It was a big occasion. The fights I had too were pretty tough in the lead up to it. I can't remember exactly where they were from. I think I might have stopped one and the other on points, but they were both good, tough fights. But again, I pretty much felt unstoppable at that stage. I really did, and I fully expected to fight David in the final, but it didn't happen. As I said, he had to pull out, and I fought Alex Tour in the final. And again, this is on YouTube because I've been commented on or been messaged about this a lot. In that he got a little bit low blow happy, did Alex, and he was a tough guy. I was on my toes, really using my movement, using my jab. Where in the lead up to these tournaments, or this particular tournament, since I'd gone back to 67, I was pretty much straight ahead. I'm coming at you, I'm going to take you out. But this is not the type of guy to do that with. So I had to box him on my toes, jab, 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 jab. Because he was such a strong guy, powerful guy. And yeah, I think it was the third round. He'd been warned numerous times, he had a couple of points taken off, and he kept hitting me low, and he got disqualified. And that was it, and I'd won the gold. And I remember Costa Zoo presented me with my gold medal, which was unbelievable. And I thought I was, just a lock to win, to win that, to win the qualification to go to Atlanta. There was a few complications ahead, a few hoops I had to jump through, but I ended up getting selected, even though I'd won all the qualifying events. But anyway, so I got to Atlanta, and again, I won't go through the whole thing because that standalone video about the lead up and the camps and everything else. But the one thing I will sort of talk about is the aftermath of that fight. And if you haven't watched that video, I went to the Olympics. I got beaten by a fighter from Kazakhstan. I was just out of my depth, out of my class at that level at that time. Again, I've discussed in that video, just too inexperienced. I mean, he was a 3-time junior world champion, so obviously he could fight, but really disappointed, really shuttered about my performance over there. I got the bell where they ring the bell. I think if you fall, might be 15 points behind or whatever it is, they ring the bell. Well, that was me. So it was not the greatest thing to happen at the Olympics, the biggest event ever. And it just came crashing down in a big way. So, but after the fight, I got back. Actually, I will credit the Australian Olympic Committee because after the event, and I'll just backtrack a little bit. I couldn't bring myself to watch any of the boxing after it. I don't know what it was. I was so disappointed, so shattered by the whole thing. I just didn't go near the boxing. And this is a tournament that had the likes of Floyd Mayweather Jr. there, Fernando Vargas, who was in my division, some great fighters, Antonio Tarver, I remember seeing them all there, David Reed. And so I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. We went out a bit with the boys, but I just sort of stayed away. But afterwards, the Olympic Committee paid for myself, I think Robbie Peden, Rick Tempiri, I think that was only the three of us that went, maybe four, can't remember who else it was, to fly us up to Canada. So we went up there for a couple of weeks and let the hair down. I went to see my host family from my exchange student days, and then came back and went to the Queensland. So I went from Canada to Queensland, stayed with my parents for about 2 or 3 weeks, and sort of started the road back. So I got back, I was about 10 kilos overweight, but I made the decision I wasn't going to take this lightly. I was going to learn from it, and I was going to make a statement, come back for the Nationals, and I did. For the first 3 days, I think all I did was just drink gallons of water, one after the other. Didn't really eat, just to try and flush out the system. Started my road work, which wasn't easy after 4 or 5 weeks of not doing anything, eating, drinking, all that sort of stuff, and got myself in a position to go back to Victoria and enter the Australian titles. And there was no one to fight. I don't think I didn't have actually I might have had one fight when I got back, but it wasn't for the state titles, just a tune-up fight with someone. And so I got that win and went to the Nationals. And again, I was really keen to make somewhat of an amends for what happened. Come on, buddy. So yeah, I got the weight down. It was tough because I had to lose a lot of weight very, very quickly. And I had a bung knee as well. I'd knocked it in training and I could barely run. It was cold, so I didn't really have the luxury of just chucking on the sweatsuit and running, but that's another story. But I had 3 fights in 3 days, and I fought a South Australian for starters, and I can't remember, actually it might have been Brett Eckerman, was it, who I fought later I think it might have been. He was from South Australia anyway, won that fight on points. Actually, I think it was Brett Eckerman from South Australia, so I beat him on points. Then I came up against a guy from New South Wales. So David Birchall didn't go to the Nationals this year, but they had some young upstart named, I think it's Damien Dennis was his name, and they had really high hopes for Damien. He was a new one coming through, New South Wales sort of being the power state. And I think they were really keen on him, you know, making his mark in that division. So I fought him next, and funnily enough, he was probably the easiest fight of the three. I stopped him in the second round, I think, and he ended up going on doing some good things, but I didn't really find him that difficult, to be honest. So I stopped him, in the second, and then I fought a guy from Queensland in the final. I can't really, Bryce someone, I think his name was. So I beat him in the final and won the Australian title for the second time. So that was I thought that was a great way to end the year, but I still had one more tournament to go. And this was like really late. It might have been late November, early December, whatever it was. And they had a tournament in South Africa. And it was in, where was it? I can't remember, somewhere in South Africa. But it was for the Commonwealth title. So it wasn't Commonwealth Games, Commonwealth title. So myself, I remember Swanee came over. I don't think, Croft didn't come, but it was a really good team. There's probably about a dozen of us that went over there. I remember landing in Johannesburg in the middle of the night, and they put us on this bus. We had no idea where we were going. It was pitch black, and we just drove for about 4 hours, and no one knew where we were going. It was actually quite creepy. It was just pitch black the whole way, no lights, no nothing. So we got to the tournament there, and I fought. Who did I fight first up? I can't remember who it was, but I won that fight by stoppage, I remember. And I can't remember what country he was from, but I fought the guy from Northern Ireland in the final, and I can't remember his name, but that was a really good experience for me. And in a close fight, I got the decision. So I won the Commonwealth title, or the Commonwealth gold medal. Not games again, just the Commonwealth titles. So it must have just been a qualifying tournament or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was all the Commonwealth countries. So I won the gold medal, and look, it was just a real vindication of, I suppose, being mentally strong and not letting Atlanta get to me. I mean, it was a really hard pill to take, and you've got to remember I had to come back to my hometown of Bendigo. Everyone had seen all the build up to it, all the newspaper articles, the TV interviews, all the hype, I suppose you'd call it. I think there was 4 of us that went to Atlanta from Bendigo, but I had to come back to Bendigo and face everyone, and it was very, very awkward. Everyone was a bit like, it's like someone had died. It was really uncomfortable, and that's why I was so happy and proud about what I achieved after that, because I could have easily just taken the rest of the year off and said stuff this and gotten fat and whatever else it might, and thrown all the hard work away, but I didn't. I got back, I put in. It wasn't easy to lose the weight when I got back, but I did it. I had 3 really good fights at the Aussie titles. I just quietly thought I might have done enough to win the best boxer of the tournament. But anyway, congratulations to Matthew Pauly, who was a great fighter as well, by the way. Never did win a best fighter at the tournament, to be honest. I reckon the next year Danny Green might have won it. But anyway, that's a different story. Not that I was in it for that anyway. But yeah, so I was really happy and proud of myself that I'd actually done that and knuckled down and really got myself back on track. Because again, I could have just gotten fat and not done anything for the rest of the year. But I knuckled down, got the Australian title win, then went to South Africa and won our only gold medal of that tournament, by the way. I was the only one that did win the whole thing, and it was just really satisfying for me to do that after what had been a really tough year or tough campaign at the Olympics. So that was sort of it for 96, and then into 97 I thought I was about to go into probably my peak years, but I had another rough year. It started out rough but ended up pretty good. But I'll go into that in the next episode. So I'll probably waffled on all the long enough here, guys. I think I've sort of covered everything. Again, if you want to hear more about the Olympics specifically, it's a long way back because I've done a lot of these videos, but just check out sometime when the Olympics were on this year. I did the video about my experience at the Games. Highlight and low light on my career. It really is. Obviously the highlight, it was fantastic, like an honour to be chosen to represent Australia at the Olympics, but Yeah, also the low light as far as just having your ass handed to you on national TV in front of all your family and friends. So it wasn't great, but anyway, it's happened to many others, I'm sure. So guys, that's going to do it for today. Hope you're again enjoying the videos, and we'll catch you tomorrow.